Hi, this is Stephen from Mona Disso. Well, first I would like to announce that I have a second channel that is for Spanish speaking people. It is run by my good friend Jonathan. He will be working on his own reviews, so for those that speak both English and Spanish, the videos will be different on both channels. I will leave a link in the description below, and thanks in advance to those who subscribe to him. If you like a laptop that holds back no punches, the Aorus 17X is definitely one to consider. They have two versions, the 17X XB with a 2070 Super, and the unit Gigabyte sent me is the 17X YB, which has a full-powered RTX 2080, and I have seen this thing pull up to 200 watts and is cooled just fine. If any laptop can power an RTX 3000 series card, I think this might be it. There are three CPU options ranging from the 6-core i7-10750H, the 8-core i7-10875H, and the i9-10980HK, which is the one I've got in mind. And to be honest with you, there are no undervolting possibilities here, so if you want an 8-core, I do advise the 10875H, otherwise the i7 will be fine to save yourself some money, because a fully spec'd out version like mine with 32 gigabytes of DDR4, 2933 MHz RAM, a 1TB Samsung NVMe SSD, and a 2TB hard drive, plus the 240Hz display, we are talking, about $3,800. So, I've always been a big fan of the Aorus, lids here, because it's a stealth bomber look. There's no glaring, red emblems or anything like that. It's very subtle, but stealthy look as well. I like it with the Aorus silver logo here, and of course it's made out of aluminium. Now, it is fairly resilient, but it does show a few smudges, so you will have to perhaps wipe it down from time to time. Now you'll notice here at the back, these are just some RGB lighting, and that's very nice. And of course the back shroud here, it's actually made out of plastic, as are the hinge covers. But the hinges are very, very rugged and very stiff. So the keyboard deck follows the same theme, black anodized aluminium. Shows a few smudges, easy to keep clean. Then we've got a speaker hole here, 2 watt speakers it's got, plus the 3 watt subwoofer. And of course here, we have air intakes, which is very nice, and the power button here, which of course lights up white. That's, I do like the design. It's aggressive looking and it's very stylish. The Windows Precision trackpad, it's made out of plastic, it's one piece and it works fine. Now the star of the show, of course, are the keys, because these are mechanical keys by OM1. They've got gold-plated contacts, which reduces rust and increases durability. They're good for 15 million key presses. It's N key rollover, very nice. In fact, these are probably one of the best mechanical keyboards I've actually tried. It's got 2.5mm of travel and a 1.6mm of actuation, which you just touch it down, you can feel it, and then the key goes down further, of course. But the feedback, tactile feedback, is the best I've felt. I do really like it. They are clicky, of course. You can hear it, but it does feel very good. And of course, the backlit, which is configurable using the Fusion software. It's per key RGB. It's very nice, and you do have a separate number pad, of course, here. So underneath is also black anodized aluminium, and you'll notice straight away some excellent air intakes in the shape of a phoenix. You also have some good rubber feet raised at the back, very solid on the desk, it doesn't slip. And to get inside, you remove 14 Torx screws, number 6. Once inside, you've got a 94 watt hour battery, which got me 3 hours 10 minutes on dedicated GPU mode and 4 hours 45 minutes on integrated GPU mode. So it's good having a muck switch, so you can actually have longer battery life there. I did like that. Now here you'll notice we've got a copper heatsink for 2 M.2 drives. The open one here is NVMe and SATA, while the one that's occupied with a 1TB Samsung drive is NVMe only. And of course we've got a thermal pad here for this component here, but that's very good. And you'll notice we've got 5 heat pipes in all. We've got CPU here and the 2080 GPU here as well, so some good cooling. We've got some big fans, a 12-volt fans with 51 blades, very good. And of course we've got 4 heat sinks in total. And for extra storage, we do have a 2.5-inch drive, so we do have some good storage options here. And you'll notice here there's the Wi-Fi card, which is replaceable. It's the AX200 Wi-Fi 6. We do have 2 RAM slots, so you can upgrade this to 64 gigabytes should you wish. And we have a speaker, interestingly, there's a slot here which you think could be a speaker, and of course on the other side of the keyboard there's a vent there, but it's not. The speakers are here with a nice subwoofer, and the sound actually does resonate through the rest of the chassis, so it does sound quite decent. The fans do move a lot of air and do a great job of keeping the chassis cool. Gigabyte also gives you great fan control options in their software, including creating your own fan curve. Now, idle fan noise using the quiet fan profile was at 35 decibels. This is not silent, but the ambient noise of my studio. Normal fan under load is 50 decibels. Gaming fan, a loud 58 decibels, and max fan is really loud at 61 decibels. Now, good news, this 17X did pass my latency test for real-time audio, something that many Intel systems before it has failed to do so. You will also notice that Gigabyte gives us 6 power profiles for the CPU and 2 for the GPU. Now, the CPU at level 0 gives a PL1 of 45 watts. At level 1, we get a PL1 of 52 watts. Level 2 increases this to 58 watts. Level 3 bumps it up to 62 watts. Level 4 to 80 watts, and finally level 5 you have a power limit of 100 watts. Now, interestingly, choosing GPU level 1 actually lowers the watts to the RTX 2080 just slightly, as you can see in this Far Cry 5 benchmark. For my benchmarks, I kept it at level 0 to have the largest power pull. To see if the system could handle the max CPU power pull with a level 5 and the GPU at level 1, I ran Far Cry New Dawn, as that makes the system heat up a lot, and indeed even with the max fan we would hit the mid 90s. Now, I did find that the best setting, as shown underneath, to have the CPU at level 2 and the GPU at level 0. Here I am using the gaming fan to reduce the noise level somewhat. Here's the same thing in Battlefield 5, CPU level 2 and the GPU level 0, and using the gaming fan. And you'll notice that the CPU stays around the 80-degree mark, which is great. So for the audio, it's got an ESS Hi-Fi Sabre DAC. So as you see on the left hand side, we do have separate audio ports. We've got a headphone jack and the microphone. We also have a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A. We have a Thunderbolt 3 port and a USB-C port that supports DisplayPort 1.4. And on the right hand side, we have 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A's. We have an SD card reader. Now, it's UHS 2, so it's pretty fast, and it accepts the card half of the way in. And finally, we've got another USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type C port. So looking around the back, it is quite stylish, isn't it? It reminds me a little bit of a jet fighter with the exhausts here, which are RGB backlit as well, as it is here also. So good air outtakes, of course, that's fantastic. We have RJ45 port here. You'll notice there's 2 barrel connectors for the power bricks. Now, as I'll show you later, there's no need to actually run both. You can actually just get away with one, but there's 2 there, and you've got an HMI 2.0. Now, the Auro panel is pretty decent as well. You've got 93% of sRGB, 73% of Adobe RGB, and 73% of the P3 color space. And as for brightness, his peak brightness is 333 nits at 930 to 1 contrast, and dropping down to 50%, that's 135 nits, so not too bad at all. And it's certainly very good and clear, and it's great for gaming. It's a 240 Hz panel. Of course, you can get to either 144 Hz or 300 Hz, but this 240 Hz panel is pretty nice. So we have a 720p webcam, which is a shame considering the price of this unit. If you're spending $3,800 on a laptop, you know, why not put a 1080p webcam? But anyway, the microphone is very good. The colors a little bit muted, but there's 720p. Now, this is what it's like when you're typing on the mechanical keyboard. Okay. And of course, you'll notice that the camera is located at the bottom. Not ideal. So if you're into streaming, I definitely recommend you get another webcam. And this is what it's like with a max fan. For those folks that like RGB lighting, this 17X does not disappoint, and it's all configurable using their Fusion software. For the keys, you can choose various patterns or customize the lighting on each individual key, and you can also change the RGB that is on the rear exhausts, above the keyboard, and also at the front. Now, I really do like the front-facing RGB. It suits its aggressive appearance and reminds me of the headlights of a sports car. Alright, so its weight, we're talking 8 pounds 7 ounces, and of course you got to bear in mind it's 1.5 inches thick, but it's still not too bad. And then With one of the 330 watt power bricks, it's £11 5 ounces. With a second 330 watt brick, of course now we're talking £14 3 ounces. So if you get away with one brick, that's the way to go. Two things that have put me off from buying a laptop with a full power 2080 and an i9 CPU is the need for having two power bricks and having no muck switch, which normally means that battery life would suck. So it is good to see that Gigabyte has a muck switch. So after a reboot, you can have hybrid graphics. Using the dedicated GPU does help me with OBS Streamlabs display capture, as well as turning on fast sync. Hooking up a FreeSync or a G-Sync monitor does give you G-Sync too, which is great. I have never wanted to carry two power bricks with me, so one good thing about using a mobile CPU is that using one brick was perfectly fine, as you can see from this handbrake chart, where it only took 4 seconds longer for the near 19-minute encode. The i9 does beat out the i7-10875H, but not by a huge margin, so that is why I recommend going for the non-overclockable model. The i9 shows a solid performance in 3D rendering using Blender, but using the RTX 2080 instead of the CPU will save you so much time. If you have this powerful GPU, you might as well use it, right? So what about using only one power brick for gaming? Well, here is Shadow the Tomb Raider benchmark. 2 power bricks at the top and 1 at the bottom. You will notice that the GPU power does drop to 150 watts with one brick, but that's not bad, and in fact the frame rate isn't affected greatly. Plus, the temperatures are slightly cooler as well. So with 2 bricks we average 132 FPS, and with 1 brick 129. This still smokes the fastest 2080 Super Max-Q in the GE66 by 13%. In Far Cry New Dawn, 2 power bricks was 4% faster than 1 brick, which is negligible really. The performance improvement over the 2080 Super Max-Q was only 7% in this game, but it is well known for wanting a fast CPU. And finally, Battlefield 5, I saw the fastest frame rate yet at 139 FPS using DX11 Ultra settings. That is some 31% ahead of my Omen 15T and its 2080 Max-Q. Now one question you might have is that, since we're playing at 1080p, are we hitting a CPU bottleneck? So I ran the Shadow the Tomb Raider benchmark at various quality settings and see only a 14% difference from low to highest. So I do think that with this powerful 2080, that 1080p is not allowing it to show its full potential. And no doubt this is something we will see more of when mobile 3000 GPUs come out. I, for one, would like to start seeing 1440p displays in these 150 to 200 watt systems. So all in all, I really like the Aorus 17X. Granted, I have always had a soft spot for 17-inch powerful laptops, but unlike my Clevo, this 17X is much lighter, especially when you use one power brick, and I saw no battery drain when doing so. The keyboard is to die for, the screen is also pretty good, and once you have dialed in the power settings, the thermals are fine as well. I'm sure if you use the lowest power settings, you could even use the 50 decibel normal fan as well. Now thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.